The Manhattan skyline shimmered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Astoria Crown Tower, the flagship of my global hotel empire. At 36, I was known to the world as the reclusive founder of Ashford International, but to my family, I was still just Nick, the hotel blogger. If only they knew their beloved Whitmore Resorts was now just one of many names buried in my acquisition files. Mr. Ashford, my chief of operations Dana, stepped in with a sleek tablet and a knowing smile. We finalized the buyout of the Riviera Collective. You now hold 81% market share in luxury eco-resorts across Europe. I nodded, eyes skimming occupancy and retention metrics on the screen. And Whitmore Resorts? I asked, already guessing the answer. Dana hesitated. Continued decline. Their Miami flagship is hemorrhaging cash. Guest complaints are up 63%. Their failure to implement any tech-forward solutions is dragging them down. A quiet sigh escaped me as I recalled the last time I spoke to my parents. 4 years ago. I'd flown to Charleston, full of ideas. Biometric concierge services, immersive cultural packages, and AI-driven hospitality models. They hadn't even looked at the proposal. This family doesn't need futuristic nonsense, Dad had scoffed. You should stick to your writing, darling, Mom had added with a tight smile. Hospitality is about heritage, not code and screens. Other heritage was bleeding money, while my screens had turned Ashford International into the most profitable private chain on 5 continents. Dana, I said, guest satisfaction scores? She tapped the air, bringing up a holographic report. Down another 12%, and the secret audit of their Manhattan property failed on every metric. Poor training, broken HVAC, outdated check-in systems. I reviewed the photos, peeling wallpaper, confused staff, dusty light fixtures. My anonymous investment firms now owned 49% of Whitmore stock. Your mother called again, Dana added. They've invited you to next week's Whitmore Gala. Your cousin Grant is receiving the Visionary in Hospitality Award. I let out a quiet laugh. Grant, who once suggested putting QR codes on room keys was too techy, was now their visionary. Accept the invitation, I said, standing tall as the city pulsed below me. It was time they saw who really defined vision in this industry. And confirm every last detail, I said calmly. The charade ends tonight. Everything's locked in, Dana replied. The final stock purchase will finalize mid-ceremony. Legal is on standby. Press kits are scheduled. It's all set. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Please wear something tasteful to the gala. It's not one of your little tech meetups. I glanced at my custom-tailored Brioni tuxedo, the sapphire cufflinks alone worth more than their entire summer marketing budget. Tell her I'll try to look presentable, I told Dana dryly. The week before the Whitmore Gala passed in strategic precision. Boardroom calls, timed stock triggers, non-disclosure filings, PR embargoes. By the time my driver pulled up to the Whitmore Grand in Midtown, we owned 49.9% of Whitmore Resorts. Mr. Ashford, the front desk clerk said, flustered. Your parents have asked that you use the staff entrance tonight. That won't be necessary, I said smoothly, stepping into the opulent lobby I'd soon gut and redesigned. I belong exactly where I am. The ballroom overflowed with hospitality elites, CEOs, journalists, investors. Ironically, many of them were my clients or employees under different brand umbrellas. If my family had ever read a quarterly report properly, they'd have noticed. Nicholas! My cousin Grant's voice rang out, arms wide. Here to see the rising star get his award? I took a glass of Dom Perignon from a passing server, finally a decent touch, and checked my phone. The alert flashed. Stock purchase processing, 19 minutes to controlling interest. The game was in motion. Every guest, every handshake, every hollow compliment they'd offered Grant was laced with irony. Most of their precious partners answered to Ashford International, my brand. Coulé, I said into my discreet earpiece. We ready? Standing by, just give the word. I sipped the champagne and smiled as I spotted my parents, basking in compliments from a crowd they didn't realize worked for me. Let's give them the legacy moment they've been waiting for. The Whitmore Grant's ballroom had all the forced glamour of a bygone era. Tarnished chandeliers, faux gilded fixtures, floral carpets. Every corner begged for modernization. I already had the blueprints. "Ha, Nicholas, darling!" My mother air-kissed my cheeks, eyes quickly narrowing at my Patek Philippe and Savile Row tailoring. "How unexpected to see you here, and dressed so extravagantly. I suppose your little projects are going better than we assumed?" I smiled. You could say that. If only she knew, I could buy her entire jewelry collection with the interest from a week's worth of coffee budget. "Ladies and gentlemen," my father's voice boomed from the stage. "Welcome to the 40th Annual Whitmore Resorts Excellence Gala." I glanced at my phone. 18 minutes until the stock transfer completed, perfectly timed with Grant's overhyped acceptance speech. "Your cousin's done such remarkable things," my mother gushed, gesturing toward Grant, who was holding court like a game show host. "Did you know he improved spa bookings just by changing the font on the wellness menu?" I stifled a laugh. Meanwhile, I'd implemented AI-driven predictive scheduling and dynamic pricing across my chain spa programs, tripling revenue in 6 months. "Mr. Ashford," Dana's voice came through the earpiece, "contracts are finalized. Also, we've got an interesting development. The 5-star global ratings team just arrived." I spotted them near the rear. Perfect. They were the gatekeepers of luxury credibility, and just last week, I'd sent them a comprehensive, anonymously submitted report on Whitmore's operational failures. "And now," my father declared, "the moment we've all been waiting for. The Visionary and Hospitality Award goes to Grant Whitmore." Grant strutted to the podium, soaking in the applause. I caught several respected executives, actually my division heads, hiding grins behind their flutes of champagne. Thank you," Grant began, beaming. "As you all know, innovation is at the heart of Whitmore Resorts, balancing tradition with modern flair." Buzz. My phone vibrated. Transfer complete. I now owned 51% of Whitmore Resorts. "Dana," I murmured, "execute Protocol Alpha." Suddenly the ballroom's grand screens flickered. The outdated Whitmore Resorts crest vanished, replaced by live dashboards of their key performance indicators. Diving guest satisfaction, slashed retention, failed inspections. "What is this?" my father barked, hurrying to the stage as Grant froze mid-sentence. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, stepping forward, my voice cutting through the stunned silence, "I believe it's time we reviewed some urgent trends affecting this organization." "Nicholas, sit down," my mother hissed. "You're humiliating us." "Am I?" I replied, walking calmly toward the podium. "Or am I finally revealing what poor leadership has done to a once respected legacy?" The screens updated again, this time showing damning metrics. Under current management, Whitmore Resorts has lost 40% of its luxury market share. Guest complaints have tripled. 3 flagship properties are on the verge of losing their 5-star certifications. And the night was just getting started. If you think that reveal shook the room, wait until you see what I announce next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the moment the empire changes hands for good. "How dare you?" my father's voice thundered, his face flushed deep crimson. "Security, remove him." "I wouldn't do that," I said smoothly, tilting my head toward Dana. She stepped forward and handed thick, sealed folders to key executives and industry delegates. "As majority shareholder of Whitmore Resorts," I continued, "I have every legal right to be here." Silence blanketed the ballroom. My mother's champagne flute slipped from her hand, the glass shattering like crystal gilt against the marble floor. Grant looked as if he were choking on invisible air. "Shareholder," my father croaked, unsteady. "Perhaps," I said, keeping my tone even, "you should have reviewed the shareholder registry more carefully. Ashford International has been acquiring Whitmore stock through subsidiaries for the past 9 months. As of 4 minutes ago, we own 51%. Ashford International, one of the 5-star global ratings delegates, stood, suddenly animated. "The same group setting new industry benchmarks across 4 continents?" "The very same," I smiled, though my family prefers to call it my little tech hobby. This is ridiculous," Grant stammered. "You're just a blogger." Actually, dear cousin, I said, turning as the ballroom screens displayed Ashford International's vast portfolio, I'm the CEO of the largest luxury hospitality consortium in the world. While you were busy resizing menu fonts and repainting lobby walls, I added, I built a global empire. And now, I said, voice calm and clear, I'm going to save Whitmore Resorts from you. Pandemonium followed. Industry leaders scrambled to place calls. The five-star delegates examined the evidence Dana provided. My mother slumped into a velvet chair, eyeliner trailing like ruins of denial. You can't do this, my father's voice cracked. This is our family legacy. It was your legacy, I replied. Now it's part of mine. And unlike you, I plan to do something meaningful with it. A week later, sunlight poured into the corner office of Whitmore HQ, formerly my father's domain. The brass nameplate now read, Nicholas Ashford, CEO. Transition teams are in place, Dana said, entering with signed approvals. The press is gathered for your official announcement. Any word from the family? I asked, without turning. Your mother's called every hour. Your father's legal team tried to block the purchase. No luck. And Grant? Dana smirked. He applied for a consulting role in one of our Miami properties. I turned from the window, smiling faintly. He's still trying to access his executive suite, Dana reported with a faint smile. His keycard stopped working at midnight. Speaking of access, I turned away from the window. Has security completed the audit of all Whitmore properties? Done, she said, handing me a sleek tablet. Just as you predicted. Outdated encryption, poor surveillance integration, and... She paused, tapping a file. Some questionable financial discrepancies in Grant's expense logs. I scrolled through the entries, private jet bookings labeled as marketing, spa retreats logged under staff development. Every line item confirmed my suspicion. While Grant was collecting hollow awards for branding clarity, he had also been funneling money through personal shell accounts. Perfect, I said, just in time for the board meeting. Mr. Ashford, my secretary's voice came through the intercom. Your parents are here, no appointment. They insist on seeing you. Send them in, I said, straightening my lapels. Time they saw how a real hotel empire is run. They burst in like a storm, my mother in a fading Chanel suit from a decade ago, father red-faced and ranting, Grant stumbling behind, disoriented now that his badge no longer opened any doors. How dare you change the access codes, my father bellowed, slamming his palms on my desk. This is still Whitmore Resorts. Actually, I said, pressing a button under the desk, this is now Ashford International at Whitmore Tower. Though, I added, as massive digital panels lowered from the ceiling, the name will change once the rebrand is finalized. The screens lit up with my full modernization blueprint, eco-sustainable towers, biometric check-ins, AI personalized guest journeys, and global HR retraining protocols. You're tearing apart everything we built, my mother whispered, sinking into a leather chair. No, I replied, I'm salvaging what's left. I slid a report across the desk. Guest satisfaction down 42%, occupancy rates hovering at 58%. 3 properties on 5 stars termination list. You weren't building a legacy, you were coasting on our grandfather's reputation. Those reports are confidential, Grant muttered. Not from the majority shareholder, I said, and definitely not your expense reports. Grant's face went pale. My mother clutched her pearls. My father's posture crumbled. The board, he began. We'll see it all, I said, pressing another button. Every screen switched to live footage. Whitmore hotel lobbies across the world, each displaying a new welcome banner. Welcome to Ashford International. As we stood in tense silence, every screen in the room shifted. One by one, each Whitmore property signage around the globe transitioned in real time. New York, London, Dubai, Singapore. The dated Whitmore crest dissolved into the sleek emblem of Ashford International. A wave of transformation swept across time zones. From Asia to Europe to the Americas, every corner of the once Misteda legacy brand now bore the mark of the future. Impossible, my mother whispered. The cost alone, she started, her voice cracking. You mean the $2,100,000,000 I invested into global modernization? I interrupted, tapping the console. A fraction of what Ashford International generates each quarter. The screens lit up again, this time with internal dashboards. Holdings across 19 countries, vertical integration models, proprietary AI systems, revenue breakdowns from wellness, concierge tech, sustainable infrastructure. Line after line of numbers rose before them, each figure more staggering than the last. Every one of those metrics traced back to innovations they had once sneered at. While you dismissed my ideas, I said, circling the desk, I was building the future of luxury hospitality. Smart rooms that adjust lighting, scent, and temperature to individual preferences. Systems that cut energy costs by 80% without sacrificing elegance. Staff academies now used by competitors across the globe. These gimmicks, I said calmly, are now worth billions. The board meeting begins in 10 minutes, Dana announced, stepping into the office. All directors are present, and the 5-star delegation has taken their seats. Excellent, I said, buttoning my suit. Today we vote to restructure Whitmore Resorts. New leadership, new standards, new vision. You can't just erase us, my father rasped. This company is our life. Was your life, I corrected. Now it's part of something larger. I handed each of them a folder. Inside, conditional buyout terms. You can remain minority shareholders, under very specific conditions, I said. Otherwise, I'll acquire your remaining shares at current valuation. My father's jaw clenched. My mother stared at the floor. Grant flipped through the pages, face turning red. This is blackmail, he blurted. This is business, I replied flatly. The kind you never took seriously. Now then, I added, glancing toward the boardroom, shall we discuss your revolutionary menu fonts? The next hour passed in a flurry of formal motions, unanimous votes, and signed resolutions. By the time the press conference started, Whitmore Resorts was no more. The rebrand had been ratified, the leadership confirmed, and the family's resistance gone. The cameras flashed in rapid bursts. Reporters called out questions. My father sat hollow in the shadows. My mother quietly dabbed at her eyes. Grant looked like a man who'd just watched his empire dissolve between his fingers. Mr. Ashford, one journalist called out, what inspired this takeover of your family's legacy? I turned slowly toward the cameras, then glanced at the faces that had doubted me for years. Let's just say, I began with a quiet smile, sometimes the best way to honor a legacy is to reinvent it entirely. That evening, as the city glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling glass, Dana stepped in, setting down a stack of press clippings. International coverage is everywhere, she said. The Times, Forbes, Nikkei, Tech Luxury, you've changed the global narrative. Good, I replied, we're just getting started. She hesitated, then added softly, your mother left something at reception. She handed me a cream envelope, inside a handwritten note. We were wrong. All these years, we were so wrong. Please, can we talk? Once? I read it once, then slipped it into the drawer. It would have to wait. There was still so much to build. Dana, I called, returning to the renovation plans, schedule the Global Management Summit for tomorrow. And book the presidential suite in Tokyo for next week. Family reconciliation? She asked. I looked up, just slightly amused. No, global expansion. If you've followed my story this far, I want to hear from you. Truly, what would you have done in my place? When your ideas are mocked, your vision dismissed, your worth measured by outdated standards, how do you respond? Drop a comment, share your thoughts. Let's talk about what it really takes to lead, to evolve, and to reclaim the narrative. And if my story resonates with you, if you've ever been underestimated by the people closest to you, then hit that subscribe button, not just to follow my journey, but to walk beside it. Because this isn't just a story about revenge or business. It's about finding the courage to build what others said was impossible. Here's the truth. The people who try to silence your potential often lack the imagination to understand it. Don't shrink to fit their version of success. Don't wait for approval that will never come. Trust your instincts, back yourself, and when the time comes, walk back into the room they told you you didn't belong in. And own it. Your future doesn't need permission. It just needs action. So, what will you build?